Hello everyone, welcome to episode 12 of Lachie Does Footy. The Indigenous rounds are over and now we move on to the bye rounds. First up we'll be doing the usual, looking at the review of round 11, tips for round 11, ladder after round 11, but there's going to be a new segment coming in, the breakout players for each team to have the bye that I've picked back in pre-season, and we look at round 12 predictions. Now we are moving on to review for round 11. First game, we're taking a look back at is Western Bulldogs versus Sydney at Marvel Stadium. Swans got up by 14 points. We're up by like 8 goals at one stage until the Dogs came back into the game. There has been a few questionable 50s against the Bulldogs. Chad Warner kicked 4 goals up in the midfield with 25 touches. Errol Gordon and Brodie Grundy also played superb in their midfield and ruck roles. Isaac Heaney played it well again in the midfield. Bailey Dale played well down back for the Doggies. Jamara Ugle-Hagan kicked 3 up 4 for the Bulldogs. Will Hayward, Hayden McLean and the Joel Amati parties kicked 2 goals. As for the Western Bulldogs, Riley Garcia's kicked 2 goals. My thing to say to Luke Beveridge, why did you pick Riley Garcia much years ago? Fremantle versus Collingwood at Optus Stadium. Well, what a game that was. Second draw of the season for Collingwood. First draw of the year for Freo. Third draw of the year for all the teams. Luke Ryan played well down back for Fremantle with 144 points at AFL Fantasy. Nick Dacos kicked 2 points. He could have had 2 goals. Lachie Sullivan passed the ball to win one game. It should be mandatory for rookie players to read the rule books. Jordan Clark had another great game down back for Freo. As for the goal kickers itself, Bailey Bearfield 3 goals and Harvey Harrison kicked 3 goals. North Melbourne versus Port Adelaide down at Bloodstone Arena in Tassie. Port Adelaide got it done by 59 points. The only ones who played well for North Melbourne are Harry Sheezer with a goal for the midfield and Luke Davies-Uniacke a goal for the midfield. As for the goal kickers itself, Todd Marshall kicked 5 goals and 4 other Port players kicked 2 goals each. As for Connor Rosie, he's injured again, but this time it's an ankle injury. As for Travis Boak and Ollie Wines, they played very good across the midfield for Port Adelaide. Carlton versus Gold Coast at Marvel Stadium. It looked close in the first couple of quarters, then Carlton ran away with it. Charlie Curnow kicked 4 goals for. He could have had 8 goals. Zach Williams, position change, 4 goals. Ben King up forward for Gold Coast, he kicked 3 goals, 2. Sam Walsh, Blake Acres and Tom DeConning totally dominated in the midfield and ruck roles. As for Paddy Cripps, he had 31 possessions and a goal across the midfield. And as for Carlton, they're back in touch of the 8 and they're looking promising again. As for Gold Coast, well, they may need to wait another year. Geelong versus GWS at the Cattery. GWS got up by 4 points. That's now 4 straight losses for Geelong. Those who played well that game was Kieran Briggs with 23 disposals and 44 hitouts in the ruck. Max Holmes with 32 touches in the middle for Geelong. Toby Green, 2 goals, 2, including the match winner. Jake Riccardi kicked 4 goals up forward. As for the game itself, Geelong led by a lot at one stage, and then GWS led by 30 points at one stage. And as for Lee Collier, he saved the game defensively for GWS after Toby Green kicked the match winner. Richmond versus Essendon at the MCG. Richmond's reserves team actually showed up, but they only lost by 12 points to Essendon, unfortunately. 5 players from Essendon had AFL fantasy points of in the hundreds. Jake Stringer kicked 4 goals up forward. Kyle Langford with 3 goals up forward. Toby Nankervis with 44 hitouts in the ruck for Richmond. As for Dustin Martin, he had 3 goals and 23 touches. And that was a close game all throughout. Let's see if Essendon can keep the streak going. Hawthorn versus Brisbane at Marvel Stadium. What an upset. Hawthorn by 25 points. Carl Amon did pretty good on fantasy, but he just had those little chip passes. Jack Gunston kicked 4 goals for his old side Hawthorn against his old side Brisbane. Mabior Chol kicked 3 goals up forward. Kai Lyman, 2 goals, 3. Zach Bailey, 2 goals, 1. Joe Danaher, also 2 goals, 1. Logan Morris, 2 goals straight. Charlie Cameron, inaccurate again, 1 goal, 3. Season's back on track for Hawthorn. As for Brisbane, what is going on? Melbourne versus St Kilda at the MCG. Season's already back on track for Melbourne as they beat the Saints by 38 points. As for Saints, season is over. And I'd like to personally apologise to Cardman22 for me picking you 14 to finish 4th in pre-season. Anyway, back to the players. Max Gawn with 27 headouts. Disposals, 34 headouts and a goal. Christian Salem played another great game. Jacob Van Rooyen, 3 goals up forward for Melbourne. Petrarca 2, Viney 2, Barney Fritsch kicked 2. As for St Kilda, their only impactful goal kicker is Max King with 3 goals. Adelaide versus West Coast at Adelaide Oval. Percentage booster for the Crows, huge win. It was by 99 points. I was at the game. Chase Jones kicked 3 goals up forward. 6 different Crows kicked 2 goals. Lachie Scholl played great for the midfield, 34 touches and a goal. Jordan Dawson, 32 touches and a goal. As for Riley O'Brien, 41 headouts in the ruck. As for West Coast, well, I don't seem to have much to report. Now we have done the review, now we move on to the tipping. Bulldogs versus Sydney, I picked the Swans and the Swans won. Freo and Collingwood, I picked the Magpies, but it was a draw, but that still counts as a win. North Melbourne versus Port Adelaide, I picked the Power and Port Adelaide won. Carlton and Gold Coast, I picked the Gold Coast Suns, but Carlton won. Geelong and GWS, I picked the Cats, but the Giants won. Richmond and Essendon, I picked the Bombers, Bombers won. Hawks Brisbane, I picked the Hawks, and Hawks have won. Melbourne and St Kilda, I picked Melbourne, and Melbourne have won. Crows and West Coast, I picked the Crows, and they have got the biggest win around 11. And the scores so far, 7 out of 9 for the week, and 57 out of 99 for the season. First on the ladder, we got the Sydney Swans. They just keep winning. They got a bye this week. Second, we got Essendon. Let's see if they can make it 5 wins in a row. Third on the ladder, we got Port Adelaide. Let's see if they can make it 4 in a row over Carlton this week. Fourth on the ladder, we got Melbourne. They have lost 2 games, but they got back in the top 4 in winning ways. They got Freo this week coming up. Fifth on the ladder, we got GWS Giants. They needed that win after losing 3 straight games. This week they got the bye. Sixth, we got Geelong. They're dropping as they've lost 4 in a row. Seventh on the ladder, we got Collingwood. Still undefeated as they got 2 draws this season in the last 5 games. Eighth, we got Carlton. They've won 7 games so far and they needed that win to get back in the 8. Ninth on the ladder, we got Fremantle. They're hanging in there. They're still in touch of the 8 with that draw. 10th, we got the Gold Coast Suns. They're out of the 8 as they've lost to the Blues. 11th, we got the Western Bulldogs. Still in 11th after that tough loss to Sydney. 12th on the ladder, we got the Adelaide Crows. They're back in touch. They need to get these wins to keep themselves going. 13th on the ladder, we got the Brisbane Lions. They're starting to go down a little bit. They got a bye this week. 14th, we got Hawthorn. Could that make a late run for the finals? 15th, we got St Kilda. Season's done. Their losses just confirmed it. 16th is West Coast. They look very good at home, but back to reality. 17th and 18th, Richmond and North Melbourne. Let's see who'll get the number 1 pick. Now we are going on to the new segment now, which is the breakout players, which I predicted pre-season, which is applies for the teams that got the bye this week. For Brisbane Lions, I got Kyle Lyman. A lot of improvements there in the area. His disposals improved by 3.4. Marks improved by 2.1. His tackles have improved by 1. He's at 10% better off disposal efficiency. 69.1 more metres gained. Kicked 14 goals this season. And his scoring accuracy went up by 30%. A lot of pluses in that area for Kyle Lyman. Second player on the list for the breakout players we got GWS's Aaron Cadman. His disposal is a game. He's got 7.5 this year compared to 4.5 last year. His marks, he's got 2 marks a game compared to 1.6 last year. His tackles, 3.2, went up from 1.6 last year. His disposal efficiency is still around the same mark. His score of involvements of 3.2, up from 2.1 last year. His goals, he's got 14 goals, which is 1.3 a game in 11 games. Up from 6 goals, which is 0.5 a game last year. For 12 games. Scoring accuracy, it's 58% this year, up from 38% last year. Third player I picked for the list at the start of the season was Will Phillips. He's played just 3 games this year. His disposals went down by 5.1. His marks have got up by 0.9. His tackles went down by 1.8. Disposal efficiency went up by 9%. As for his clearances, it went down by 1.9. And he hasn't even got a goal yet. 4th player picked for the list on the breakout player, it's James Jordan. He's at a new club and a new role. He's had 3.3 disposals better off, 1.1 marks better off, 1.9 tackles better off. His efficiency went from 77% to 82%. His clearances have gone up by 0.4. He's kicked 1 more goal at his new club and what he did last year at his old club. His scoring accuracy's gone up from 44% at Melbourne to 62% at Sydney. Now we move on to the round 12 predictions. Port Adelaide and Carlton at Adelaide Oval. I got the Blues by 18 points. Best players for Port, I got Ollie Wines, Zach Butters, and up forward I'm going with Francis Evans. For Carlton, I'm going with Matt Owens, Paddy Cripps, and Sam Walsh. Collingwood versus the Bulldogs at Marvel Stadium. It's an important game for both clubs. For BC make finals, I reckon Collingwood will win by 26 points. Best players, I'm going with Nick Dacos, Josh Dacos, and Harvey Harrison for Collingwood. For the Bulldogs, I'm going with Marcus Bontempelli, Bailey Dale, and Jamara Ugle-Hagan. Although it was listed as a Collingwood home game, but it's the Western Bulldogs who play all their games at Marvel Stadium. Hawthorn versus Adelaide at the MCG. It's an important game for both teams to their late finals charge. 3 weeks ago, I would have got the Crows by 50 points, and now I got the Crows by 10 points. Best players for Hawthorn, I'm going with Jai Newcomb, Maybell Chol, and James Sicily. For the Crows, I'm going with Lachie Shoal, Jordan Dawson, and Chase Jones. West Coast versus St Kilda at Optus Stadium. Season's over for both teams. This game doesn't mean anything. We'll see who's going to finish higher. But I got West Coast winning this one by 24 points because that's in Perth. Best players for West Coast, I'm going with Harley Reid, Jake Waterman, and Jeremy McGovern. St Kilda, I'm going with Nasai Wangani-Malira. Geelong versus Richmond at GMHBA Stadium. Is this the game Geelong finally end their losing streak? As for Richmond, they were competitive last week against Essendon. So this week I got the Cats by 44 points. Best players for the Cats, I'm going with Jeremy Cameron, Max Holmes, and Brian Myers. Best players for Richmond, I'm going with Toby Nankervis in the ruck. Should be a good win for the Cats. Melbourne versus Fremantle at Alice Springs, TAO Traeger Park. It's an important game for both teams. Melbourne need to win that to stay in the top 4. Fremantle need to win to stay in touch with the top 8. For this one, I'm going with Melbourne by a point. Best players for Melbourne, I've got Max Gawn, Christian Petrarca, and Stephen May down back. Fremantle, I'm going with Luke Jackson in the ruck, out for a point to prove against his old team, and Luke Ryan across half back. Gold Coast versus Essendon at the People First Stadium in the Gold Coast. I'm sorry to the people from People First Bank. I'm going with Essendon by 10 points. Another close game. Best players for Gold Coast, I got Took Miller and the 2019 draft class trio. For Essendon, I got Zach Merritt and the two necks, Hyde and Martin. Should be a good game for Essendon. They need to win that to keep in touch with the top spot. Gold Coast need to win that game to keep in touch with the top 8. That's all for episode 12 of Lachie Does Footy. I hope you enjoy it, and we'll see you next week for episode 13 of Lachie Does Footy.